Welcome to day 9 of Beginning with the Self, your first step in courageous and compassionate communication. This is Lisbeth. Today, we're going to dive into requests which enrich life. Consider these questions and write your answers in your journal. How do you know when a request has been made of you? How do you know when a demand has been made of you? What is the difference between a request and a demand? Requests are beautiful opportunities we can offer others for connection, for service, and for the highest form of living, self-transcendence. Maslow writes, "Transcendence refers to the very highest and most inclusive or holistic levels of human consciousness, behaving and relating as ends rather than means to oneself, to significant others, to human beings in general, to other species, to nature, and to the cosmos." Self-transcendence is the need to transcend ourselves and connect with causes and forces outside ourself. By using self-actualization in service of something outside ourselves, we are given the opportunity to experience transcendence. This is the amazingly profound potential which exists within requests. When you make a request of me, you are giving me the opportunity to contribute to the creation of a wonderful life for you. What a gift! In talking about requests, Marshall Rosenberg shares, "Please do as I requested, only if you can do so with the joy of a little child feeding a hungry duck. Please do not do as I request if there is any taint of fear of punishment if you don't." This is the energy of a request. A request is offered as a gift to the other to contribute, to do something wonderful. There is absolute loving space for a no. In fact, if the request cannot be answered with a joyful, juicy yes, then no is what the requester would want to receive. Demands, on the other hand, come with consequences to the other. The consequence could be an explicit or implicit punishment, such as exclusion, reprimand, judgment, or resentment, or an act against another's physical body, an act of social, emotional, or physical oppression. Demands may also be made in respect to roles and responsibilities. For example, at work, your role may have very specific requirements or demands. If you're unable or unwilling to meet these requirements, you may be fired, not as a punishment, but simply because you're not able or willing to fulfill your job responsibilities. Are demands bad? No, demands aren't bad. There are times when demands are necessary for personal safety. Imagine standing on the curb of a busy street, demanding that your child wait with you and perhaps even holding their hand so that they must wait with you isn't bad. In fact, it's probably the best thing you can do to keep them safe. That said, Ted Wachtel, the founder of the International Institute of Restorative Practices, shares a founding principle of being human, which is important to note when considering demands. Human beings are happier, more cooperative and productive, and more likely to make positive changes in their behavior when those in positions of authority do things with them rather than to them or for them. There are two main pieces to consider when considering the question of whether demands are constructive or destructive. The first is, although there are circumstances where making a demand is not only not bad, but the best path forward for all, demands do tend to bump against a powerful and fundamental need of human beings. The need for autonomy, for power in their world, for the ability to choose and to have others respect their choices. So it's important to realize when making demands, even when the demand is in the best interest of all involved, that the demand may result in some amount of harm. Again, this in itself isn't bad, depending on its depth, as long as the harm is attended to and healed. You can do this by acknowledging the demand and creating the time and space to ask others what impact the demand had on them and if they are needing any additional care. Even with a child, after grabbing them from running into the street, once they are safe and calm, I might ask them, "What was it like for you when mommy grabbed you?" One of my favorite quotes is from a teacher of mine, Mickey Cashton. In talking about needs, she shares, "When we trust that our needs matter, we are much more flexible about how they are going to be met. We are even more flexible about whether they will be met at all." When possible, provide a chance for others to engage with your demands, in particular, but also your requests. This includes an invitation to share the needs which were being impacted by your demand or your request. The other piece to consider about demands is the harm that can result when demands are masked as requests. So imagine a coworker says, "Would you help me on this project?" and then is angry and complains to your manager when you say, "No, I'm sorry, I have to finish this project that I'm working on." They didn't make a request, they made a demand. Faced with their anger and their complaint to your manager, you're less likely to trust them in the future when they ask you for something. You're likely to suspect that although they may use words like "would you," "can you," "will you," they are actually saying "you must" or "else." What's it like for you to receive a demand masked as a request? Imagine your housemate says, "Would you put the dishes away?" And you know that if you answer no, she won't talk to you for the rest of the day. How do you feel? Are you happy about putting the dishes away when you comply with her so-called request? What are you thinking about her? Let's do some work with this. Consider a time in your life when someone made a request which you believed was actually a demand. Fully call the experience into your body. Visualize who, what, when, how, etc. Write in your journal. What made you think the request was actually a demand? When you received the request knowing it was really a demand, what did it feel like in your body? What emotional feelings arose in you? Use your feelings list. When you complied with the request, knowing it was actually a demand, what did that feel like in your body? And what emotional feelings arose in you then? Again, use your feelings list. Next, consider a time in your life when someone made a real request to you. This is when you knew that you could say no without them creating a harmful consequence for you or someone or something you loved or your relationship with this person. Fully call the experience into your body. Visualize who, what, when, where, how, etc. What made you believe the request was a request and not a demand? When you received the request, knowing it was a request, knowing you could give the gift of support with a yes, or say no with no fear of harm to you or to your relationship, what did that feel like in your body? What emotional feelings arose in you? Remember to use your feelings list. And now consider when you fulfilled the request, knowing it was truly a request, knowing that you were giving this gift of support, and that you could say no at any time with no fear of harm to you or your relationship. While you were fulfilling this request, what did it feel like in your body? What emotional feelings arose in you? Use your feelings list. All right, now write in your journal or share with the community and those in your life what surprised you about this exploration into requests and demands. Time for today's challenge. Make a request of someone today, a real request, and ask them if they think it's a request or a demand. Explore with them what thoughts came up when they heard your request. Ask them what they felt in their body. Ask them what needs arose for them when they heard your request. Time to celebrate. Remember, you create the world you live in every moment and with every thought and every action. By requesting rather than demanding a wonderful life and that which you need, you create a win-win world where all benefit from giving and receiving with joy. Cheers!